go, bro. Here we go, bro.
My talk with you today is about something that I believe very passionately is fundamental to the future health and happiness of our communities across the country, and it's about physical literacy, a call to movement. So I'll have to set the table with some news that's not very, very encouraging. We are living in a world now where it's estimated that 1/3 of our children in Canada age 5 to 17 are overweight or obese. That is just staggering, stunning. On top of that, it's estimated that currently 2.5 million Canadians suffer from type 1 or type 2 diabetes, and that by 2020, that number is going to go up to 3.5 million. How can we allow a situation like that to occur in a country that has the wealth and the quality of people that it has? This is a major crisis, a major concern, because the tendencies that children develop in their youth tend to carry on into their adult years. Unchecked, by 2040, 70% of Canadians will be overweight or obese. I mean, I don't think I have to tell you what that means, not only in terms of healthcare costs, but just in terms of our productivity, in terms of our creativity, in terms of what we contribute not only to our own country, but globally. It's been said that this generation of children will be the first one in a few hundred years that'll have a lower life expectancy than their parents. And the estimated costs of obesity are between 5 to 7 billion a year, and that's just the costs that we know of. It doesn't really talk about the emotional costs, the human costs that are probably much greater. We are physical beings, aren't we? This is a physical world. Mother Nature has given us incredible gifts, and we are physical beings. What's amazing is that 200 years ago, we were the same as we are now physically. But over those 200 years, our society, it's unrecognizable, isn't it? I mean, in terms of the knowledge that we've acquired, in terms of our technology, we're moving at lightning speed. Yet our bodies haven't changed. The needs for our body, our connection to the earth, they're the engines that drive us. That's how we really determine the quality of our life and are able to engage fully in all the other pieces that life offers us. It's interesting to note that in today's world, we are quite prepared to invest in some of the material items around us. I think the new iPad's coming out in the next few days. Nobody's got a problem popping down $500, $800 for the latest iPad. We're going to spend quite a bit of money to make sure our cars are running well. We're going to renovate our homes, aren't we? But how much are we investing in ourselves and in our children in terms of being physically healthy, active, and enjoying the quality of life? Why is it happening? That's the fundamental question. Well, first of all, I think a lot of us know that it tends to be a more sedentary life that we have going on right now. The influx of the whole computer and video age has become much simpler, right? After a day of work or school, to plunk oneself down on the couch and disengage with the real world and engage with the technological world we've created. Reduce parent involvement. Look, parents are still the #1 role model for their children. Always have been, and I think always will be. And it's not what you say, it's what you do. That's what our children really feed off. That's what they learn from. And so in a world where both parents tend to have to work now, right, because of the economic challenges, those pressure points, maybe it's much more difficult to be able to lead a lifestyle, an example of lifestyle that the children will be able to really build on. We're bombarded with cheap, nutritional, processed food ads and easy access to it. And it's so much easier also in our busy lives to say, yep, let's just go down to the local fast food chain and deal with dinner there, and the chips and the sugar water and all of that. That's also having a huge impact. Now, I know in Penticton, there's a farmer's market out there, organic goods all over the place, so there is a lot of good news starting to develop as well, but this is still a prevalent issue for us. And this is the one that I really have a problem with, that we have greatly reduced the emphasis of proper physical education delivered by trained practitioners in our school system. And it's due to, I think, a misjudgment in terms of the priority value of physical education. Somehow it's not as important as academic or artistic education, and the perceived cost of implementation. So we're here to challenge that. So what can we do about it? There is an answer, and it's called physical literacy. And the concept of physical literacy is the same as it is for literacy in writing and in arithmetic. We understand to become competent at math, you need to learn the fundamentals of arithmetic. To become somebody who can read and write, be able to write essays and stories, you need to learn the alphabet. And we do understand that to be able to enjoy physical activity fully and to be able to engage in sports in a way that makes you feel competent and enjoyable, you need to learn the fundamental movement skills, the ABCs. And those ABCs are learning to run, learning to throw, learning to catch, learning to jump, becoming aware of one's body. And this is a key point, done in a way that is fun and enjoyable. This isn't about creating high-performance Olympic athletes. This is the idea of providing every child with the opportunity to understand how they can engage in physical activity in a way that they can enjoy and progress in. So some of the things that physical literacy does, and I know a lot of this isn't rocket science. We didn't just invent this. This is intuitively correct, right? I'm sure a lot of you are nodding your heads right now going, yeah, well, that makes sense. The real question is, why aren't we doing it? Why isn't it systematically entrenched? What are the benefits to learning physical literacy at any stage in one's life? Right? Well, first of all, the motor skills and the coordination development so that when you engage in various forms of physical activity and sport, you're competent at it. Because as human beings, we aspire to competency. We aspire to doing something reasonably well. And we want to be able to improve upon that. And that's what part of the enjoyment is all about. Body awareness and body image. So by becoming physically literate, we understand how our body works, how the legs and arms, how that's all coordinated, how we can go faster, how we can have more endurance, how we can enjoy our nature and our environment, and healthy body image. How big an issue is that today for our youth, particularly for young girls, when they see the nonsense that's often paraded in the magazines about what's considered attractive? It'd be so important for our children to know that what's attractive is being physically fit and being active. Particularly for girls. I live in a world where we have a lot of young female athletes, including my daughter. And they're starting to really understand being fit and maybe having a few muscles and being someone who's constantly engaged in activity is actually very attractive and a good way to live. Psychological benefits. Clearly, when we are fit, when we are constantly engaged, we feel better about our life. We enjoy life to a greater degree. We have an enhanced self-image of ourselves. We build up self-esteem. Because physical activity involves a process where we see progression, where we see ourselves moving from one stage to another. We know that after we engage in physical activity, we feel better. And we also have the ability, and this is the evidence is starting to really mount on this. This is so critical, particularly at the school system, that children who are fit and healthy do better academically. They have better attention spans. They're more focused. They're more cooperative, and they're more creative. Talk about the importance of a future having an creative, imaginative, energetic young generation. Well, a big part of that is them being physically active and healthy. The cultural benefits. The correlation between understanding that when you work at something, you put in an effort, and you discipline yourself to keep doing that, that you improve, that you get better. That's such a fundamental social quality that we all value. Within that, the physical activities and the activities associated with that lend itself to cooperation and community involvement. Penticton is a model in many ways already, and I now live in Victoria, which is a similar community, where we get it, right? We live in unbelievable nature. And we work as communities hard to connect to that nature and to respect that nature and to provide opportunities for our citizens to interact with that nature. And that's mostly in a physical way. Also in a creative way, also in an artistic way, but there's a physical reality out there for us to enjoy. And it's an atmosphere, especially that you cultivate with youth, that advocates and promotes empathy, trust, and respect. Again, fundamental qualities that we want all citizens to be able to share with each other. Now, there's a framework that's being developed which helps articulate that, and it's called Canadian Sport for Life. And it's based on empirical evidence of what the different stages of development are that a human being goes through. In this case, it's focused on the physical, but it doesn't disconnect from cognitive and emotional pieces as well, because they are all interactive. We're all interactive human beings. All those pieces work together in a holistic way. What's great about this model, if some of you who've had an experience with the sport model, know it used to be a pyramid, and at the top were the Olympic and Paralympic and professional athletes. Look where they are now. They're important, excellence, train to train. That's an important component and always will be. But look now where the majority of us are able to engage. Physical literacy are the entry stages from 0 to 12 years of age. And we're not talking about single sport dedication. We're talking about exposure to a multiple array of physical activities and sports. We don't believe anymore in early specialization. We believe that children should be exposed to all kinds of opportunities, and that should be, the emphasis primarily should be on fun and enjoyment, and progressing is part of that fun and enjoyment. And look at where the big category of active for life, that's all of us, by the way. All of us are active for life. And in fact, this model is going to change a bit, because that physical literacy, that yellow base, there's going to be a stream that's going to go up along the right, because for many adults who weren't exposed to physical literacy as youth, there's an opportunity to do it now, at any stage. It's great, it's critical for us to introduce this to children where we have the maximum impact, but at the same time, this is not exclusive to youth. All of us get to engage at any level, and I think that's going to make a fundamental difference as well. So what does that mean in terms of practical application for physical literacy, when we now have identified what a child from 0 to 6 is capable of, what their stage of development is, psychologically, cognitively, emotionally, physically? It means that we now adjust that experience, that introduction to physical activity or sport based on that stage. So the greatest example, the sport that I have quite a bit of background with, is in tennis, progressive tennis. What you're seeing there is an example of how we've scaled the tennis experience to one that matches the skill stage, a stage of development of a child. Smaller courts, smaller nets, rackets of different sizes, bigger foam balls, so that the first experience that the child has is one that's positive. They're actually hitting a tennis ball over the net on the first day. Now we're seeing micro soccer. We see in hockey, I had an engagement, I was involved with my children with the Penticton Minor Hockey Association. Novices now have 5, 6 different little mini stations on the ice. So it's starting to work its way through the system. Every sport now, and all physical activity, is geared to the common language of Canadian Sport for Life and understanding those stages. Now, I've been a high-performance athlete all my life. I've played Wimbledon and the French Open, Davis Cup for Canada. I've coached at 2 Olympic Games. But it's been said that I've come over from the dark side and I've seen the light. Because Joanne and I would quite often walk onto a gym floor in elementary school, and we look at each other and we'd say, who are we going to save today? Because we started to understand that we were seeing a full spectrum of where children were coming from, and many of them were coming from some pretty tough situations where they were not getting opportunities. And through providing a physical literacy opportunity, we were giving many of them a key to a lifetime potential of being healthy and fit and being productive and opening all kinds of doors with as simple a program as this. It was a revelation for me, and that's why I believe so passionately, because high performance on Olympic out, no problem. The more young kids we have engaged in physical activity and being active for life, the more athletes you're going to have. We're taking care of the whole high performance piece by just having all of our children be exposed to this opportunity. The key for sustainability is that we educate the educators. There are lots of generalists at the elementary school level. They want to do a better job. They want to provide the children a quality experience. They don't know how. So I think that the sectors working together is to provide that guidance, provide those tools, so that, for example, our model in Victoria is first year we run the program, but we get some engagement from the staff. Second year, the staff starts to run the programs with us supporting it. Third year, the staff runs the program. So at the end of this, This is about connecting and completing the literacy that all of us as holistic human beings need to be exposed to and have access to. What my pitch is, and what we're advocating here, is that if we do not emphasize at the level of young children the importance of physical literacy, how that's applied in a way that's fun and motivating and encouraging, then we will pay a bitter price for that. We already are to some extent, but we already know that if this trend continues, it's unsustainable and it has huge damage for our society. The good news is we have an answer. We have the opportunity to interact with everybody in a way that will have a profound impact. I know that in many ways I'm preaching to the converted here already. This is a very healthy community. But this is a message for all Canadians. So what I'm calling for is a collective movement towards a healthier, happier, more active future for all. A call to movement for movement. That's what this is about. Right? Because aren't we beings who like to move all the time? It's so much better for us to move, to be engaged. It creates energy. It creates the motivation to want to do more, to want to interact with each other. So this is why I believe that physical literacy is a concept and a movement whose time has come. It is an opportunity for us as a country to partner together, to share our resources, to connect and provide the greatest gift that we can to our children, which is a bright, wonderful, healthy, happy future. Thank you.